how do you increase velocity? And that's a question that if you haven't gotten yet, you will be. So how do we answer that question? Oftentimes the first reaction, if this is the first time that you're dealing with this question, is that you as a Scrum Master or Agile coach for that matter may take it very negative. Now, what we want to do is to think about the question itself. What is it that this person that's asking us to do? What is asking things to do? What are the expected results? And usually it's in the form of, I would like to see, the team is doing 20 points per sprint right now. I would like to see them going up to 25 points, 30 points, 40 points for that matter. Let's take a look at it. We will start at the very basic. We will have to start at story pointing first. So what is a story point? A story point is a number, usually in the form of a Fibonacci series number, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, and so on. And this number, the story point, is given to a story during backlog refinement. The velocity then is at the end of the sprint. The stories that have been completed, the stories that have been accepted by the product owner, all those gets added up together. The story points sum it up. That becomes your velocity. So the questions around increasing the velocity is, how do I get more numbers? In other words, how do I get more user stories that can be completed? Now, this can be taken the wrong way. Now, you could cheat, right? If there is no perceived safety from your team, the team may decide that, hey, a story has a point, we add it up at the end of it, it gives us the velocity. If we were to size bigger, guess what? My velocity will be bigger. That's not what we're looking for, right? That's not truly what we're looking for. What we want is truly, we want to see our team members to be able to deliver more. That's what the question usually is about, not actually increasing velocity. So with that, in this video, we are going to talk about 3 things that you should be focusing on to increase your velocity per se. And then when you do those 3 things, what do you expect to see? So we're going to talk about it at the end of that. All right, so let's get into it. So those 3 things I'm going to break down as PPT. Well, sounds like PowerPoint presentation right there, right? But not really. PPT, all right? There's going to be people, process, and tools. So those are the 3 things that I want you to focus on if you're looking to increase the capability, increase the speed of the team to close out stories. So number 1 is people. So let's take a look at the people in this equation. The people are developers. We can all agree that a more experienced developers is probably able to finish a user story faster, right? So therefore, they can do more compared to a junior developer who are inexperienced. That's a given. So oftentimes, the fix that we often see is managers coming in and the first thing they do is fire the developers and hire new developers. Easiest fix there is. But that's not necessarily the answer to this question, right? What do you do with the developers you have? How do you increase and how do you give them experience? So that's it. Think about how do you give them the experience so they can be better at the work they do and be faster at work they do. Also, more experienced developers means less defects. In other words, user stories that are completed produce less defects that could then reduce your team's ability to do or complete work, right? The more defects you get, the less number of stories you can complete. Reducing the defects increases the number of stories you can do in a sprint. Simple as that, right? So give them the experience. What do we do? What do we mean by that? Well, training, right? The time to innovate. Also, we think about, the environment that the developer is in. Is it very chaotic? In other words, are there a lot of people, disturbing them, right? Do they have the time to actually write code? Okay, you don't go overboard with this. Oftentimes, again, I see this a lot of times. cancel all meetings. No meetings allowed. You're going to be writing code for the whole week. That's not it. You might be efficient at that point, but you're probably not effective. Again, we want to make sure that we want to complete the stories, get it out the door, and it doesn't come back. Anything that comes back is a waste that reduces our speed as a team to deliver more work. In order to be experienced, guess what? You have to have the time to do the work. Experience means I have done something in my past, so I've spent a lot of hours in it. So you gotta give them that chance to do it. So in order to bring a junior developer up and to the next level, guess what? You have to give them the chance to do the work. Senior developers, you have to train junior developers. You have to bring them in the mix. That's why we have pair program, right? Bringing them up to the next level. So everybody has that skill set. People is key. Now, not only is the developer is important, your product owner, your manager are people too that are in this mix. Why do we say this is important? Product owner, are you writing good user stories? If a story is not written well, guess what? The developers will spend time trying to figure out how to complete the stories. Therefore, you can't complete it. Slower, right? Managers, what are you doing in this for this developer? How can you grow this developer? Are you going to come in and dictate for a developer? Or are you going to come in and help build this developer up as a more experienced person? That is a part of this. Believe it or not, psychological safety is key too. Having the ability to speak up, saying, hey, could we do something? Could we try something? Right? Innovation. Innovation is another key to enabling your developers to be more experienced, to go faster. So those things you don't want to miss out. Going to the second one, the process. What is your process looking like? If you're running Scrum, great. Are you only doing Scrum or do you have something else in place? Most of the times I see team doing Scrum plus all the other meetings that's in place. They have to be, addressing issues, the managers coming in, asking questions. In this instance, developers are not being protected, so they get pulled away. Your process involves the developers to that. Developers are in everything. They're in every aspect of it. When you are in that, you will probably hear the complaint of developers don't have time to code. And usually it's that. It's not that Scrum event is taking too long. It's that every other thing is thrown in. So reduce all those things. Okay? So your process has to be in place. The process of checking in code. The process of quality check. UAT is a process. Is it valuable? Is it worthwhile? Can we throw away UAT at the very end and shift left, bring it to the front so that we can complete the story with the right acceptance criteria, knowing that it'll be accepted? Instead of waiting to the very end 2 weeks later to say, oh, the users accept the story or not. Bring them to the fore. Do not extend the process itself. Find ways to reduce feedback so that we can complete the story faster. This is where lean comes into play. Are we handing things off to the next person? Right? So this touch on number one, people. Are your people in what we call a T-shape? We're not trying to make them vanilla. We know that experience, we know that domain expertise still count for something, but they should be more rounded because part of it is helping each other out. So let's go back to the first one, but that is part of your process. Does your process allow people to be cross-trained? Does your process allow others to help you out? Right? If you have silo, if you create silo, that's a bad process. When we look at process, another thing that comes up is, what are the things that we have to do in order to get the stories to completion? So there might be a lot of things that you have in place. Some companies, you got to go through audits. You got to create certain things, for example, documentation, things like that. Are those things the right amount of work? We don't want to go above, right? We don't want to create waste. We should not be creating waste. Only do things that is valuable and enough, right? Should we be doing the audits all the time? What does the audit process look like? So that itself is a process. Look at that. Could we make it more efficient and more effective? Okay, more effective is the key. efficient is another part of it. Those things come along side by side. You can't just focus on one and not think about the other thing, okay? Working agreement is also part of your process. Does the team have a working agreement? How do you work together as one? That's part of your process. Do you even have one? If you don't have one, guess what? Your teams may be storming more, the teams may be miscommunicating, therefore you're not delivering the work that's needed, right? So that slows you down too. Process of work intake. How does work come in? Does it go to any developers, for example, or does it get funneled to the product owner? Okay, the last one is T. PPT. T are the tools. What tools? What do you mean? Well, the tools that the developer use. It's basically computers, right? Laptop. Is it helping? Is it not helping? Does it slow down? I remember having a computer that took so long that for it to compile code back way then, I had to walk away. I was so frustrated because, I got my manager bring down my neck that we want to go faster, but I can't. My computer was too slow to compile the code. Another part of tools that people don't think about is not just the tools that we use for coding, not just the tools that we use for testing. The tools that we use for collaboration is also a key. The time that we spend collaborating as a team is a lot to be effective. So what tools do we use to collaborate, right? For example, not just emails. Emails may not be effective because emails slow you down, for example. So that might be not the right tools. When you're doing remote work, for example, what's the right tool for you to be effective? Tools like Mural or Miro enable collaboration to be more effective, right? Those things are also enablers for your teams to go faster, right? What do you have in place that is slowing the team down? Automation is one way of making things faster. If your tools are manual Excel file, that probably is not a good idea. Tools for work management. There's a reason why people use tools like Jira and things like that because it's faster, right? We check in code, we can check stuff in. So those things help. So anything along that way. So we covered PPT, right? People, process, and tools. When you cover those things, it is not a one quick fix. It takes time. And what is the result that you expect to see? So when we say team goes faster, what we mean is that in a sprint, the number of stories that a team can handle will increase by 1, 2, or 3. We don't know what that is, so we have to put some measurement in place. Potentially, what we will see also a user story that was, estimated with a story point of 3 or 5 may now become 2 or 1, right? So that's the result that you could see. So those two things. So combine those two things in the end, then you would see that your number of stories will probably go up. Therefore, your velocity will increase. How big of an increase? May not be as big as what you're thinking you could get. It's not doubling, it's not tripling that. It's just that you could deliver more. Okay. Now, sometimes you may not even see it. You could delivering value faster, but you're not seeing velocity increase. What's up with that? Well, there could be a reclassification or readjustments of the size of the story pointing. What used to be 3 in the past is a different 3 now. Okay, so that could happen. So therefore, the expected velocity increase may not be the same. Okay, it may not even go up. I've seen a lot of that happen in teams that they can even deliver more, right? But my velocity is still intact. But when I look at it, it's more stories get done. Doesn't mean that my story point goes up. So those are the things that you would want to consider. I've given you the 3 things to focus on. I would love to hear from you. What are the things that you do to help increase the capability and increase the speed for developers? That's it. Bye.